This is a little journey to the shops. The shops are actually only about 1 kilometre away as the crow flies, but they're about 200 feet down, or rather 200 metres down into the valley. We've got to go across the hills to get to the shops where our mail has been dropped, because the postman's car can't actually get up our lane. We're going to turn right now onto the rough. Somebody's been logging. Can you see our little deery friends there? They're all over the place here. Loads of deer everywhere, and they're not exactly really bothered by people. Sometimes they run away, sometimes they don't bother. They know what a car is. Look, there's Bambi. What a poser. Here to the left we have views towards our small town. You can't actually see it. It's behind those hills, a couple of valleys away. I don't know if you noticed back there were some small snow drifts. Come the really bad weather, we can barely get across here with the pin scour. It's just too deep, and we can't go this way in the Unimog because there's a constriction at the end that the Unimog would be too big and heavy for. Usually drifts here on the right. You can see it now, it's probably just a couple of feet deep, but this does get to many feet deep in snow drifts. 5 feet deep, maybe deeper in places. Okay, we've come a little bit further down the hill now. It would be a bit boring giving you the whole thing, but if you look, you can see we're nearing the village. We're still a couple of, well, quite a few meters up above. To the right, you can see the next valleys. Over the top of those hills, in fact, another sort of valley or two on, is the next nearest big town, where there's actually a little and a small Tesco. This piece was particularly bad in the last winter because the snow was level with the tops of this cut, valley, whatever you want to call it, this track. The snow was actually deeper than the track. You couldn't see where the track was. So it was a case of having to walk down to the shops to fetch our mail, which we did several times. In fact, quite a few times. But we enjoyed it because we were wearing the right clothes for the conditions. Here we go, we're coming down a steep little bit now and out into an area where you can see a gorge on your left. This is just a bit like our gorge actually. We own the land down to the middle of it. Not this one, the one that's near to our house. And to your right, the village. Well, you can see it's quite spread out and looks like a Tyrolean village. That's actually what it mostly resembles, to be honest. We're now getting down into the area of the village, so we've come down off the main tracks onto actually the village track. In fact, I've just seen a vehicle go by on the road in front of us, so we're almost at the village. Here we come down into the village. This is a typical old-fashioned Polish peasant house with its old-fashioned barn next to it. That's what ours used to look like. Another 1950s house like our old one. And there the road, you can see. The actual road, which is no wider than a street road in England, And I mean a council housing estate street road. In fact, it's not as wide as that, and that's the main road through the village. Big lorries, buses, everything on a tiny little road. We're approaching the shops now. This big green building on the left is our local hardware store, and, well, we're actually quite friendly with the chap who owns it. On the right you'll see our local shop, and here are a couple of peasants. In fact, 3 peasants. They're all alcoholics, and they all hang out round the back of the shop. And that's a gorgeous girl called Edita. She's beautiful. We're now going back up the hill from the shops. This is climbing slowly back up. We've already gone up a couple of 100 metres. When we get to the top, we'll do a view back over the valley that we've just come up from. Here we are going back up the hill from the shops. As you can see, this is our track leading back home. In summer, we can obviously do this a bit quicker. We're crawling along now because we don't know what's under the snow, and it's all frozen tundra, it's solid as a rock, and we don't want to damage anything on this little fragile Suzuki. But with the Pinsgauer we can belt along here. So, you know, it's no difficulty. Down to the shops, although this looks a bit rough, is 10 minutes to get down, you know, and 10 minutes to come back up the hill. No bother at all. Look, we're just slip sliding here into the ditch, but it's no problem. We've got some good tyres on. We can get through all this. Somebody has conveniently left some logs on the track since we went down to the shops. I mean, we're very lucky that, you know, that we can go round them onto the field. But, you know, if there wasn't this field that we could drive on, then we'd be stuck. You know, because we obviously couldn't get over the logs. Oh, there's our barn. Look, you can see our barn in the distance, and our house. That's where we're heading. But we can't go straight across the field, obviously, so we're going to go